Welcome to the last podcast. No, not last as in the last episode. It's the name of the new podcast where we discuss the last thing in a wide variety of topics. For our first episode, we'll be discussing the last collective brain cell both Christian and myself have been sharing. Actually, there were two that had been going strong for a while, but we recently lost one of them. Rest in peace. It didn't die or anything. I just, actually misplaced it. So if you can find a brain cell hitchhiking down your local road and rambling about the patriarchy or Rhea Ripley, you know who to email. Anyway, back to the last remaining brain cell. This one is actually at risk of offing itself because of a different last we encountered this week. That being some film called The Last Unicorn. In order to really dive deep, last brain cell is he's struggling.
He's working overtime.
In order to really deep dive what Harvey, that's what we've named the last brain cell, is going through, we'll have to talk a bit about this movie first. So here it goes. The Last Unicorn is an animated fantasy film based on a book by the same name. It follows what appears to be the last unicorn on Earth as she travels the lands in search of her kin. Along the way, she meets a few companions, Schmendrick, a bumbling sorcerer, and Molly Grew, a woman fascinated with the existence of unicorns. Their search brings them to the home of a king who is suspected to have trapped all the unicorns for his own viewing pleasure with the help of the Red Bull. Yeah. The movie climaxes with a confrontation between the two parties. Who wins? You'll just have to keep listening and find out. It's a kid movie. We all knew the unicorns were gonna go free. Don't play with me. Yeah, that's a summary. Down with the patriarchy and up a Rhea Ripley, and preferably she can lift me up too.
Right. So how are we feeling?
This isn't the worst thing I've seen in my life.
Okay, that's a start.
I can't tell if my experiences was impacted by just how absolutely tired I was. My day was, came home from work, went to bed, woke up. I was like, cool, I need to watch this movie. I finished the movie, and then I went back to bed and woke up exactly on time to be here for this recording. So having said that, I think I got like the past 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and my eyelids started getting heavy. I'm like, I need this movie to hurry up.
Yeah. It's pretty quick as far as movies go.
Yes.
90 minutes. Except
today. Today was the longest 90 minutes of my life. My feelings about the movie in general. It's okay. How this is a kid's movie is a little weird to me. I mean, it was the 80s.
It is the 80s.
The content itself in terms of plot or whatever, I don't think is not kid friendly or mature necessarily. But a lot of the visuals I feel like are a little daunting. Just a lot of horror or seemingly horror to me scenes, really dark and gritty. Lots of random booba on.
Yeah, maybe the titty tree will do that.
Yeah. A harpy too. The harpy looked rough, bro. I don't know if that's accurate what a harpy is supposed to look like, but damn, that she's been through it. I feel like I might have enjoyed this more potentially if there wasn't the musical aspect or the singing or the soundtrack, whatever you want to call it, because I found it kind of distracting. Regardless of whether or not I actually like the music. I didn't, by the way.
Me neither.
But it was just distracting. I was like, I've seen animated musicals. What was the one I saw all the time in elementary school? What's this one? Is it Peter and the Wolf? That sounds like a musical I saw as a kid. I know there's a lot of flute. I'm pretty sure it's called Peter and the Wolf. I don't know. Someone could fact check me on that. But animated musicals are a thing, and maybe I can only enjoy them as a kid. I don't know. I can't tell you. And normally I really like animated things. I forgot how long animation was possible. So when I 82, I was like, oh, this is really good for 82, minus certain artistic choices where I was like, that thing looks funky. Mostly the animals. The way they drew certain animals, I was just kind of I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'm a little surprised that the music is what would off-put you from enjoying it more. I mean, I agree that the music isn't particularly good for my tastes, but it's kind of minimal. When I originally Googled the movie, it came up that it would be an animated musical, and I was like, okay, great, here we go, another musical.
I was expecting we're singing every line.
And then it's really not that. There's very few instances of them actually singing in the movie or even background music. a lot of the times. So I don't really think it impacted me one way or the other, actually, which I guess is probably a positive for this movie, because if it had been mostly singing, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot less. So, which isn't to say that I enjoyed this movie, because I didn't really. It's just so far outside of being a movie I would watch that I'm just so not the target audience. It's like what it comes down to, and it shows between what the movie, the simple kids movie plot and the way that it sort of plays out, and then obviously the only slightly redeeming thing was the excess of these weirdly adult things that happen, like the two different instances of titties and people like actually dying in this movie. So and Red Bull, shout out Red Bull sponsorships. I just don't, I flat out didn't really enjoy the movie. Was it the worst thing, like you said? I guess not. I think I would still say that there are worse things that I've watched, both in my life and on this podcast, but it's kind of a slim margin. So I feel like
I think you nail on the head. It's like, I'm so not the target audience. Like this, I think the real indicator it's a kid's movie is, one, the runtime a little bit, and two, just like the super simple plot. It's like, honestly, if you have to like storyboard this, you can like set this up in like 5 frames, because it's really just opening scene / credits, meet Schmendrick, meet Molly, get to castle, final act.
Unicorn's free.
Yeah, that's like kind of I've just described the entire plot of the movie, honestly.
Yeah, and really, you could get by with just that. Like,
yeah.
If someone said describe this movie to me, 5 frames is basically all I would need. So,
also, you can condense this to like an hour long.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first 10 minutes is her fucking around in the forest. We get this intro from Peter Pan and Gandalf, for all I could care. They're posed as 2 random hunters, and they're upset because they can't find any game to hunt because the unicorn guards this forest, which for some reason this guy knows. And then he mysteriously wanders out of the forest, but not before saying, "Oh, she better count her lucky star. She's the last of the unicorns." And then the last unicorn goes, "Wait a second, I'm the last fucking unicorn. What the hell's going on?" And then a butterfly shows up and starts singing, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go with the fucking musical stuff. And then the butterfly spouts nonsense for 5 minutes, just completely and like utterly useless scene towards the plot anyway. And then eventually he says something about where she needs to go as the only thing that is useful in terms of it showing up. And then we're finally off and the plot is going, and the unicorn's like, all right, I'm going to go save my friends now. So that's an easy 5-minute cut down. And I'm sure there's other instances out there. Probably didn't need as many things about her wandering the countryside right afterward, or interactions with the bandit camp, like Schmendrick making the procession of illusionary people. Don't really need all this. It's just kind of like whimsical in between plot points. So like, I get it, but
yeah,
whatever.
I'm so unenthused to talk about this movie. I'm gonna just put it out there. I obviously don't like it enough to talk about it, but also I don't hate it enough to like be riled up about it. I'm just so unenthused.
Yeah, it's almost it's a weird in between where I had really hoped that this would end up being a kind of Oklahoma-esque situation where there would just be ridiculous stuff that I can talk about, like a man singing to another man about how he should kill himself. That was great. Could talk for a while on that. This is just like what I've got. There's nothing to like super grasp onto. The most you can grasp onto is the like darker themes to what this movie presents for you. You can also ascribe different themes to it if you wanted to really dive deep on stuff like individuality, or for some people, I bet you could find stuff about like queerness in here, with her transition from a horse to a human, and then back to a unicorn to a human, and then back to a unicorn. or some sort of loss of innocence or existentialism. I bet there's a million things you could pull out of this movie just because of it. And I had a bit of a similar predicament when I was thinking about what exactly would go on and how we would discuss this movie. And I have a couple of things planned that I can get to, but to loosely outline the movie just a little bit before we get to that, which will be a little bit more fun. So we have this unicorn. She discovers that she may or may not be the last one on the face of the earth. And she sets out, and then she immediately basically gets because she has no concept of how fucked up humans are or can be. She's just wandering around, almost gets captured by some farmer, then gets actually captured by a witch named Mommy Fortuna, who is just capturing animals and presenting them as mystical beasts. But now she has an actual mystical beast in this unicorn, and she already had this harpy that we have talked about already. And the harpy, I think this is a non-traditional depiction of a harpy. Harpies, I think, are generally depicted as female in stature and like having a woman's body, and then just having wings of a bird, and then claws like legs of a bird as well, I think is the traditional harpy. So this is just a haggard old fucking vulture, that's just been living off of literally garbage, which is what vultures tend to do. It really shows on this one. And also it's got saggy boobs. Like why did we need this? Because we had to get the adults into the movie theater somehow, I guess.
This thing is living off of trash and spite.
Yeah, spite for Fortuna, the old witch.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet Schmendrick, our bumbling fool of a sorcerer who knows magic kind of, but can't make it work very well, and his dream is to be like a master wizard or whatever. And by the end of the movie, they're calling him a master wizard, by the way. And no. What are you talking about?
He got lucky in that final act, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he got lucky across the entire fucking movie.
There's no way you could convince me that he knew how to reverse his initial spell.
Absolutely not.
There was no scene that I saw of him like studying magic or practicing and blah, blah, blah. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, you want to talk about power of friendship? Looking ass. That's Schmendrick in the last moments of the movie, where because the whole time before this, when he first turns her into a person, he's like, the magic will wear off, or I'll figure it out maybe later. And like you said, does no sort of reading up on the topic that we see of. There are apparently a couple of days in there that just sort of pass. There's like a weird, you don't really know when, because they just start skipping when they're at Hagrid's castle, and you're just supposed to believe that days pass after a while. So like maybe you could be like, oh yeah, in there, but really he can't be a bumbling idiot and then a week later be a master wizard. And I really only consider him a master wizard because he turns her back into a unicorn. I don't know. That's whatever. That's kids show stuff, What are you gonna do? I can't harp on this. It's just plot for the sake of it. So then then Schmendrick has a heart, so he frees the unicorn after a couple of tries, and then the unicorn. I don't really know what was holding the unicorn back, in all honesty, from using her magic, because then she goes over to the harpy cage, touches it with her horn, and the lock falls off, and the harpy's free.
But yeah, speaking of, I think I could believe the unicorn was like genuinely captured from the inside of the cage. I'm not convinced the harpy was like actually confined to those cages, because like the unicorn undid the lock on the cage, and then the harpy just busted out. Like it wasn't like it walked through the door, it explodes. I'm like assuming when that happened, I was like, okay, upon further assessment, I think your cage was mostly like just wood panels with steel bars. In which case, you could have hulked out of this ages ago. I don't know what happened, man.
Yeah, it's like a TV show or a movie where the background is just a cardboard thing propped up, and the vulture, the harpy, just flaps his wing and goes, "Oh, that was fake the whole time." Okay, yeah, very strange. But I guess I could believe that maybe the fake horn that the witch puts on our unicorn is some kind of magic suppressant, maybe. But then, yeah, the harpy cage is just utterly ridiculous. Just fucking explodes and the harpy flies off into the sky and then dive bombs Mommy Fortuna. Actually, first it tries to go after the unicorn.
We're just fucked up, by the way.
Which is fucked up because, I mean, it's trying to bite the hand that feeds.
Actually.
And then in some very awkwardly animated scenes, the unicorn fends off the harpy by just flashing the horn a little bit. And the harpy goes, all right, well, I'm not trying to get impaled tonight, so I'm just going to go kill the helpless old woman and her son. And so she does. So we got 2 dead people now in this movie. Actually dead people in this rated G kids movie. So
I just really wish they could have committed to like gore. Like obviously that would have taken it out of the G rating, but like
yeah, that would have. We can't have
blood,
it be
at least a couple scratches.
Yeah, I would have bumped it up to a PG movie. We can't. We can't have that. Parental guidance. No. So yeah, I just and then the unicorn and Schmendrick just literally walk away. The unicorn pulls some like T-Rex advice bullshit where it's like instead of just stand still so it doesn't see you, she's like, just walk away slowly so it doesn't see you. I was like, okay, sure.
And then you get a visual of the harpy like looking for them, I assume, and they're like, where'd they go? Oh well.
So the harpy takes one circle around the camp, doesn't look at that pathway, by the way. Nope. And then they're just like, all right, guess they're gone. And the harpy just flies away, never to be seen again in this movie. Whatever.
Maybe they did become invisible by not running.
Sure, maybe. Some more magic. Maybe it was just the unicorn magicking again.
Maybe. It's like, I have a force field around us, but you can't walk too fast.
Yeah. It's like a quest in a video game. You just have to walk next to the NPC as they take 8 years to get to their destination.
Or you got to like hide from like a spotlight or just something that's going to like look at you and catch you. So you got to like walk behind like a moving train cart or something.
Yep.
And the train car is just the magic force field.
It's except the train car is this unicorn. And you're a bumbling sorcerer.
You know what sucks possibly the most for me about this movie?
Go on.
Is we get a pretty decent introduction to Schmendrick, right? And then after that, he's just so unlikable. He presents as a fairly decent guy, and then then even the bandits, like they split up, and he's the one that gets captured, but quote unquote captured, and then they kind of get themselves out of it with his help a little bit, except then he gets tied up against the tree and uses magic to try and free himself, and turns the tree into a cougar tree. And then he's getting motorboated by a tree with giant... I'm gonna be real. I didn't interpret motorboating at first because I didn't interpret it as booba. For some reason, I thought it was just massive ass cheeks. And he was wedging himself. Like she was sitting on him basically. And then I had to think about it a little bit longer. I was like, okay, well, it's the other option.
Yeah, it's definitely the front. Because then at one point the tree like hugs him a little bit with her branches, which have leaves on them, and it looks like a scarf. So I'm like, this is definitely tree booba right here that we've got for some reason. And then the unicorn walks up. I like to imagine in the unicorn's head, I mean, I'm sure she doesn't because she doesn't know shit about humans. But if I was that unicorn, I'd be like, God, what is this, Schmendrick? You this lonely? You gotta resort to turn a tree to get your rocks off. Like, what's going on here?
The answer may surprise you.
I feel like it won't. I feel like Schmendrick does not get out enough and has probably been in the employ of Mommy Fortuna for far too long. So, oh God. Yeah. So then we pick up we pick up our other companion. Molly grew from the bandits. And actually, I should look this up really quickly. I just remember this. I remembered reading that Molly Grew is like maybe part of was it the Robin Hood? Is she like also a character from that? Maybe I'm bugging.
I know I like went over like a plot summary because I need to like make sure I don't forget this when I wake up. And there was some random note about, I guess, one of the bandits or some random NPC they come across. And they were like, it's a reference to Robin Hood in some capacity. I'm like, I remember the parade of astral projections looking like Robin Hood walking with like Rapunzel or something like that. I think I long blinked during that section because I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but we met Molly.
Yeah, maybe I Googled it quickly, but I think I made the association to Molly in that instance. Just not the case, I guess. So pick up Molly. She instantly recognizes a unicorn because she's believed in unicorns her entire life. So now...
So I don't know if this is correct, but my understanding from this movie was that men can't see unicorns unless you're like a wizard or something. But every woman can see a unicorn as far as I understood it.
I don't think it's every woman. I think really what it comes down to is either you have to have magic or you need to have previously believed in unicorns in the first place.
Gotcha.
And I guess they're just trying to imply that men would never believe in unicorns. So only girls and women would. And even women, I think, might forget or not recognize a unicorn if they didn't believe long enough. I don't know. The rules are fast and loosely played with. There's not a whole lot of consistency. They just kind of throw whatever at you for the sake of there being any reason, even if it's contradictory potentially. So yeah, I think at one point somebody quotes that men can't see, but then we've got Magic, Schmendrick, and then Haggard. So to fuck with the rules, dude. So then the Red Bull appears, chases them. Schmendrick turns the unicorn into a woman because whether it was intentional or not, I don't know. Seems like it was intentional in this one instance.
I don't know. I in my brain, I thought he was trying to manipulate the weather to like smite the Red Bull. And before we get to the reveal that the unicorn is turned into human, I thought this guy managed to mess up so badly, he caused a lightning strike to hit the unicorn and killed her.
Oh, that would have been so sick, though, because then she would have used her unicorn's horn as a lightning rod and then like redirected it firebender style at the Red Bull. Movie over. Oh, that would have been so much better. I wish that had happened. Fuck all this human bullshit.
I guess.
And then, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell if anything Schmendrick does is, well, I shouldn't even say that. Most of what Schmendrick does across the entire movie is accidental. He kind of just, and on multiple occasions, he says he just casts magic and lets the magic do whatever it thinks it wants or is the right thing in this situation. So she gets turned into a human and the Red Bull's like, no unicorns here. Guess I'll leave. Sure. And the unicorn as a human woman absolutely fucking loses it.
She's like, oh God, I can feel death slowly approaching me. What are these emotions of regret and love?
This body is actively dying as I inhabit it. Please make it stop. It hurts.
Yeah.
And Spencer's like, oh God, I really didn't think this was gonna happen. Don't worry, it'll wear off one day. Eventually, somehow, when the magic feels like it, you'll be a unicorn again. She's like, help me. Awful. I mean, not necessarily awful, but it's kind of funny. It made me laugh for the first time in the movie. I was like, what is going on? It's just so unexpected. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, fair when you're living in a mortal unicorn body the entire time.
I mean, honestly, as a human, existence is pain. So, like, I feel your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I, too, wish to be a magical white unicorn.
We don't ever really get confirmation on whether there are male unicorns in the first place either. They're just kind of not amorphous, but they're just unicorns because you don't hear anything from any of the rest of them. They all look exactly like the one we're familiar with. So one would maybe imagine at first that they are all female, but then do Do unicorn reproduce? How do unicorn exist in first place?
Great question.
Ones we don't really need the answers to in the movie, but I want them now for my own sanity, I guess. Did you happen to recognize any voice actors in this movie?
Recognize them by their voice? No. I did see the credits, and I was like, Jeff Bridges, I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
Could not remember where I recognized him from, but I recognized him as a name.
Well, I can tell you, Jeff Bridges in this movie was the prince.
Okay.
Jeff Bridges, across his entire catalog of movies, where do I start? I mean, he was the one that immediately pops into my head personally is Tron. He was Tron Legacy. He was Kevin Flynn, and also Clue, the horribly CG'd version of himself, younger version of himself. He you may for anyone who's watched movies like True Grit is another one. I'm looking through his backlog of movies that maybe you would recognize from. Oh, look, there's The Last Unicorn, 1982. Actually, he had just gotten off of doing the original Tron in that year, by the way.
Wow.
1982. If there's anybody in the older demographic of our listening audience, they, I'm sure, know way more of these movies from the late 60s, 70s, 80s that he was in. But he was in the original Iron Man. As an antagonist, I believe, if I remember correctly. Hasn't made too much stuff recently. I mean, he's in stuff once a year, base more or less. But yeah, not super active these days as he was when in his younger years. He's a relatively older gentleman at this point in his life. But I didn't immediately recognize this one because I'm not a Lord of the Rings guy, but Christopher Lee, another actor extraordinaire, been in many a film since probably the way earlier than Jeff Bridges anyway. Christopher Lee, rest in peace, by the way. Very long, prolific career. He Gandalf. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. He is the... Oh, wait, no. I think someone else. Different. Sauron. He's Sauron. Forgive me, Lord of the Rings people. I didn't watch I haven't watched the films, which they're going to crucify me for that one too. But yes, he is a notable character in that movie, and also many others. So I was very surprised to have seen these two people in this movie. And I'll add, this is a fun fact that I have here for The Last Unicorn. Both Christopher Lee and Jeff Bridges fucking love the book, apparently.
Wild.
Yeah, I the Sir Christopher Lee, I should say, apparently showed up to recording sessions with a copy of the book, and with it bookmarked of stuff that should not under any circumstance be cut from the film. Which apparently also the adaptation from book to film was fairly faithful. So take that for what you will. And Jeff Bridges, maybe even more incredulously, apparently called one of the directors of this movie when he found out that the movie was being made, and volunteered to do the movie for free because he loved the book so much.
That's crazy.
I don't know if he actually didn't get paid or actually did it free of charge or not. It only says that he volunteered to do it, but so he just loved it so much that he was like, I need in on this now.
I have no words. That's crazy. That's true love for the game,
I mean, yeah, actually though. But anyway, enough about two titans of acting and voice acting. They become part of the family, basically, is how this goes. The prince, voiced by Jeff Bridges, falls in love, of course, with human unicorn, whose name is now Amalthea. And slowly she just starts forgetting that she's a unicorn as she experiences human emotion. So that's yeah. And then by the same proxy, because this is a fantasy animated kids movie, she has to fall in love with him now. So they do. And then Haggard is like, oh no, you're a unicorn. I fucking know it. I know you're the last unicorn. And then eventually there's just like a bunch of random shit that happens. Schmendrick becomes the court jester, and Molly goes and like washes dishes, but then hears a riddle or something from a talking cat, and then they go to find the Red Bull's lair, but not before they meet a skeleton in the bottom, and he gets drunk off of not wine. Which, to be honest, if I was going to point to one scene in this entire movie that I really enjoyed, maybe not really enjoyed, that's a bit overzealous, that I enjoyed the most, it was this scene with the skeleton in the basement not drinking wine because the bottle's empty.
That moment like felt like a long blink, which I'm pretty sure I did, because I was like, okay, I know they need to go to the basement to find the Red Bull, and then they just encounter the skeleton that's alive for some reason, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah, he's just there. He's chilling.
Brooke needs to come get his cousin, bro. my man needs to get his act together.
I literally though. So skeleton points the way. They end up in the Red Bull's lair, and then the Red Bull turns out to be like, I question how exactly the Red Bull gathered all of these unicorns, because at the end of all of this, he gets intimidated by the one unicorn. The prince.
I think unicorns are just docile creatures and aren't one for violence. Also, scary fire elemental thing. You know, I'm not sure I'd consider fighting it necessarily.
I mean, sure, but the Red Bull gets one whiff of unicorn magic and just decides that enough is enough. So I guess at no point did any of the unicorns get annoyed enough, or I guess unicorns have just basically never experienced human emotions is what it's supposed to come down to. Never really explained. A lot of this is just supposed to be surmised by the onlookers, to which a kid is never going to make that connection. It's basically only for the adults to be like, oh yeah, this unicorn can fight back and like utilize its magic in this way because it got to be a human and experience what regret and loss and anger and sadness and fear is. And immortal unicorns just don't ever experience that because they're immortal. They have nothing to worry about in that sense. So that's your explanation for the Red Bull TM backing off from this unicorn who finally decided to fight back. He's like, okay, sorry, my bad, bro. And then all the unicorns are free, and
from
the prince
ocean.
Is free from the ocean. Yeah, I'll give the movie another minor concession in that the scene of the roiling ocean and the foam turning into all the unicorns was okay, it's clever, it's cool. I can get behind this. And then all the unicorns are back, and then our unicorn Amalthea brings the prince back to life because he threw himself in front of the bull to save her
and then died.
Very
anticlimactically, honestly.
Oh, very, because they cut away. Anytime someone actually dies, they die off screen, and then their body just gets haphazardly thrown into frame. You know what it reminded me of? Because this happened recently on our other podcast. He flopped like Law. I was getting big Law flop vibes from the prince.
That's great.
So yeah, all our unicorns are free. Yay! And then our unicorn returns to their forest and we live happily ever after. So now that we got the boring part out of the way, I brought some slightly more interesting things, hopefully more interesting things to the table here tonight to kind of fill in a little bit of the extra time here. I was conferring with a friend on how, like you said, very uninspiring movie to talk about. So what can be done to spice this up a little bit in some way, shape, or form? And they came up with, well, what if I Googled Last Unicorn like fan theories or conspiracy theories?
Oh, okay. I heard the word fan and I got real scared. What the rest of the word is gonna be.
No, not that. No. No. Like conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So just to see what would pop up. And man, not a lot of cooking got done, but a couple of people, they cooked. So I'm going to run you through a couple of some of my favorite ones that I read. Some of these are just going to be, I'm just going to say them and move on because it's just kind of funnier that way. The first one, this film takes place in a My Little Pony universe before G1, which I assume is Generation 1.
Okay.
I wish I was a brony so that I could understand this. They're basically just talking about how the ponies from the My Little Pony universe are all descendants of these unicorns, which sure, I believe it. The unicorn, I'm pretty sure there's a unicorn My Little Pony out there. There's just some alternate universe where they gain emotions and turn into ponies, whatever. Apparently a common one is that either Haggard and or Prince Lear used to be unicorns, or mainly that Haggard is. So the idea goes that Haggard's obsession with gathering up all the unicorns and keeping them like trophies stems from this forgotten memory. Like he used to be a unicorn, but then, like our unicorn in the movie Amalthea begins forgetting that they are a unicorn because they spend too much time in a human body experiencing human emotions. So I think the same thing basically across the board. Every time I see saw the theory pop up, it was that Haggard got turned into a human somehow, forgot what it was like, and then over time, as he grew older, had this obsession with unicorns but didn't know why. And so this was why he could continually see unicorns and then have them rounded up and employ the Red Bull to be able to gather them for him. So they use stuff like that when he looks into her eyes in that one scene where he confronts her, tries to get her to admit that she's a unicorn, that he sees not a reflection of himself but the forest. So like he sees the forest that he can no longer go back to or something like that. A lot of this is very like kind of reaching for stuff here, but whatever. They also say that his design is somewhat reminiscent of a unicorn in that he's very gray, white hair, very skinny and lean. But I mean, Schmendrick also is kind of lean, so is my man also. And he actually wields magic, so like, is he also just a unicorn? I don't. Nobody's out here pulling from my man Schmendrick. So somebody who was really, and I'm on a website that just. It's tvtropes.org, and it's literally just a webpage of a bunch of fan theories. Someone just decided that they really wanted the last unicorn to be in the Game of Thrones universe. And they said the unicorn / Lady Amalthea is an alternate universe reincarnation of Daenerys Targaryen.
Wild.
And they have a 2-sentence explanation. It would explain the white hair, purple eyes, and connection to a mythological creature. They also, for some time, think they are the last of their families and kin. Okay, sure. That's whatever. Fine. Now for my favorite one, which I got off of a Reddit post because gotta love Reddit. r/fan theories. I found this one out. It was the first one I popped up actually. And is by far someone who cooked the most on this. I'm gonna say off the bat that I think they're an animal, and I think their reasoning makes no sense. But man, did I enjoy reading this! So the title of their post on Reddit from 6 years ago, by the way, the last unicorn is set on a dying Earth. Catches the eye real quick. So this person continues. I'll paraphrase a little bit, but I'm going to read a lot of this. I'm going to deal with the movie rather than the book, which is also when I figured out that this was a book also, because I looked up the conspiracy theories before I did the rest of my research. They decided they're going to approach it from 2 different angles, a like technical standpoint and then a thematic standpoint. And they claim that they're going to overlap, but they really don't overlap. They explain the technical one first, but I'm going to save that one for second and give you the thematic one. Basically, what they say is the movie is literally called The Last Unicorn. All the other unicorns are eventually recovered. Spoiler alert. But you do lead in with the last one. Smedrick is the last of the Red Hot Swamis. Is that a thing from the movie? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what that is. Yeah, fuck if I know, dude. The music invokes the last eagle, the last lion, the last moon over the last star of morning, a great deal of last. Don't know what that's supposed to mean either. Maybe I also long blinked, but I don't know what last eagle, lion, moon, last star of morning. Don't know what all that is. The movie deals heavily in tones of lost innocence. Okay, fine. The first like actual point we've made in this theme thing. Molly Grew is the obvious start. Impassioned speech about unicorns when she was young. She is the innocence lost and hope regained. Smedrick is some cynical wizard and is already disillusioned. And then there's the last unicorn who could symbolize innocence all by herself, forced into a human body. And even at the end has now regained her innocence. Some part of her is mortal yet. Some part of her is innocence unreturnable. And while the movie certainly has elements of hope, it's more reliably about a loss of youth and innocence. It's a tired, and this is my favorite line, they just like have all of this thematic stuff and then just throw in this line that's supposed to make you believe they've tied it together. It's a tired, world-weary movie with world-weary characters. This is a movie for a dying world.
Now this math checks out for me.
All right. Well, then let me hit you with the technical side of things and see if the math still checks out for you. So starting on the technical, The Last Unicorn takes place in Earth's future.
They lost me, but go on.
They think this person would have you believe right off the bat that the last unicorn is some kind of regressed version of Earth where we got past our current point in time, and then suddenly some doomsday scenario happened and we returned to medieval Earth. So when early on, encounters a butterfly. When asked who she is, eventually gets a speech about being a unicorn, including the etymology of the word, with mention made of Old French and Latin. So we're in a world that has both French and Latin and is old enough to distinguish between Old French and French. That would be Earth. Thank you for stating the obvious. Later, mention is made of Robin Hood, still Earth, and particularly Earth after the 1300s. Okay, we're still very far back in time from the future. And then they go... No evidence of Catholicism arises, and our own historical records don't really mention a King Haggard or a kingdom thereof. So we're presumably postmodern. So we went from the 1300s to, and because their line of thinking is that because there's no mention of Catholicism, we are now in postmodern. Do you know what time period postmodern generally is referred to as? Or like is encompassed in the phrase postmodern?
I feel I have an answer. I'm not going to say my answer because I don't want to embarrass myself in front of the academics.
Well, generally speaking, especially in terms of art, postmodern is usually like the mid 90s, like mid 1990s to late 1990s.
Okay.
So by pointing out, they would have us believe in one sentence that because there's no Catholicism here, we've jumped from the 1300s with mentions of Robin Hood to the late 1900s. Okay, so continuing on, now the technology available in the movie is either roughly medieval or straight up magic. Okay, so we've gone back in time again. I'll ignore the idea of sufficiently advanced technology and just say magic. Don't know what this is supposed to mean. I was talking to my friend about this and they were just like, I think they mean the unicorn's magic specifically being some kind of future technology, like so advanced, so far in the future that it just looks like magic because we're in medieval times now. So the Reddit post continues on. This means that modern tech has been lost altogether. Rather than assume that somehow the knowledge has been lost but is still useful, I'll instead suggest that the means has been lost. Rather, we have burned through the means. More specifically, we've burnt through fossil fuels and even temporarily lost access to nuclear energy. Our energy levels are more or less set back to pre-industrial levels, so medieval tech is what remained practical. In this case, and here's where it really wraps up. They really seal the deal on it. In this case, we are on a dying world. We will never have the springboard we need to re-achieve nuclear power. We will never go to space. We will never escape this world. We are dying. This person, I don't know what they were smoking, but I need some. They would have you believe, based off of the fact that Catholicism doesn't exist in this world, there's mentions of Robin Hood, and that we're in medieval times, that we somehow burned through all of our fossil fuels, but before that, made such advancements in technology that we installed laser horns on horses to make them look like unicorns, and then all civilization crumbled, and now we're back to medieval times based off of the events of the movie.
You know, maybe I'm just not a knower enough to get the math behind it, but like, I think I'm still on board.
What are you talking about? What is happening? This makes no sense. They have linked together a bunch of nonsense things. They just listed a bunch of very loose connections, and we're like, yeah, all of this, it proves it. My point. This is the future. This is a future world. What are you talking about?
You know, I think I only agree with this because I've read like a story once that had like a very similar like plot narrative. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. If I do, I'll like let you in on it. But basically, it was something like to the effect of like somehow, or maybe it's the inverse. No, I got it right. Yeah, basically, it was like somehow in the past, the world was like more advanced with like knowledge and tech and blah, blah, blah. And then just something went horribly wrong. And now we're back to like basically Middle Ages. And so maybe I've just seen this type of plot unfold enough times where I'm like, yeah, I could buy it.
I can buy it with evidence. There's no evidence. They don't provide any evidence.
They spelled it all out for you. Maybe you just have to go through the
Catholicism means nothing. There's somebody commented on this post too, and they said, I thought that was the implication. There's this Reddit commenter is like, I agree with you, and I thought that was obvious, is what they're saying right now. What are you talking about?
Listen, maybe it's just not obvious to us. Maybe we need to sit with
fellow commenters. Go, yeah, the song talks about crumbling mountains and other end of world type things.
I'm hearing more. What do you call it? Mathematics. More proofs. Or more
and
proofs.
This guy goes precisely, and then another person goes, I can't speak to the movie, but the song definitely talks about the apocalypse. And you know, maybe I should have looked up the song and done more, but even then, that can just be because there's no fucking unicorns left in the world. All the unicorns are not there. The first 5 minutes of the movie introduces the fact that the unicorns watch over their designated areas. The hunters can't find wild game because they're hidden from view by whatever magic bullshit the unicorn can do, or the unicorn just fends them off, whatever it is. And now there's no unicorns. The rest of the world has no unicorns. There's nothing to protect them. So the rest of the world is just getting pillaged by humans. It's not an apocalypse. It is an apocalypse, but not because it's future technology crumbling to the ground. It's because there's no fucking unicorns left. They're all gone. There's nothing to protect the world now. That's why you
wait. Hold on. I think you stumbled upon something. You just haven't recognized it yet. What if unicorns are actually highly advanced drones?
That's what this idiot in the original post is trying to say, with like the unicorn, the unicorn horn being magic, and magic in this world isn't really magic. It's just highly advanced tech that they stumbled upon. But there's no fucking evidence for that. Just accept that it's magic bullshit, and the world is crumbling and an apocalypse is happening because there's no goddamn unicorns left. It's literally the point of the movie. They say it in the first 2 minutes.
No, I think they cooked here, bro.
They overcooked. They burnt it. It's been sitting. They put the pasta on the pot. It boiled over, and they came back 3 hours later from a gas station milking ciggies run, and their house burned down. It's utter nonsense.
Pasta's perfectly al dente.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So anyway, this has been conspiracy theories with Christian and Harvey, the last brain cell.
I'm Harvey.
Yeah. So on that note, do you have any final thoughts before we move on to the other fun things that we do on this godforsaken show?
I guess my final departing words are to the person who recommended this movie, and I believe it was Rin. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was Rin.
Rin, I just gotta ask you why. Like, does this movie have like sentimental value to you? Do you like this movie? Like, I just got questions, bro.
I would hope that she likes this movie and didn't just pick one out of a hat.
I think you're assuming a lot about any of our dearly beloved producers, that they wouldn't just kind of scroll through a wheel and be like, yeah, they could watch that one.
I mean, up to this point, Rin has picked movies that she actually enjoys, like Oklahoma or Legally Blonde the musical. These are movies that she enjoys and gave to us, which is fine. I didn't find my own enjoyment out of either of those movies really, or this one for that matter. But that's just the how the cookie crumbles. It's their money. They get to make me watch and whoever's with me, in this case you, watch whatever they want. If it's their favorite childhood movie, then so be it. But I'm gonna tell how it is. I didn't like this movie. This movie was not it. This movie was super not it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm have to agree with this one, boss. This one ain't it. It's not the worst thing you've thrown at the gallery. I wouldn't know because I'm not here for most of these picks. Actually, no, mostly because I long blinked again. Do you like, which one do you like more, this or Oklahoma?
Oh, I think I'd have to go with this. If you told me I had to rewatch one of these and put a gun to my head, it'd be The Last Unicorn. The Last Unicorn is not only shorter, but involves a lot less musical.
Gotcha.
At least I can turn my brain off and enjoy the tree titty or something like that. Like I don't. The only thing in Oklahoma I would get kicks out of again is the suicide song. That's like the only thing. Not a great thing I thought I would say, but it's like not something I really thought I'd utter, but here we are. So
that's just how good crumbles.
Okay, wait. I have one more fun fact. Not conspiracy theory related, not voice actor related. My comrade in arms, who gave me the advice for the conspiracy theories, also found out one other thing about this movie. So in case you stuck around long enough for the credits at the end, also, I think the end. You'd have noticed that there were a lot of Japanese names at the end. This movie, while directed by, I think they were American. Yes. 2 American directors, and scripted by the novelist who wrote the book. The movie itself was actually animated by a Japanese studio called Topcraft.
Wow.
Topcraft, as it would turn out, is an animation studio established in the early 70s by a former Toei producer.
Oh.
And they made a bunch of stuff over time, a bunch of different productions, but would eventually go out of business in the late 80s.
Damn.
Late 80s? Yes. Mid 80s, mid-late 80s. And they would go on to, many of them would go on to become a much more well-known and prolific animation studio. Now, I know that there's a lot of them. We're both anime watchers, but would you like to perhaps guess once or twice what animation studio you think Topcraft might have turned into?
Oh, not the question I thought you were going to ask me. If I were Topcraft,
what did you think I was going to ask you?
I thought you were going to ask me like what anime series have Topcraft worked on.
Oh, well, I don't think you would really know that.
I got one in the tank. It's the oldest one I know. But anyway, Topcraft died in mid 80s, would reform into someone else. I don't know too many production studios. I know like a handful. And I don't know how long they've been around. I don't think it's gonna be Toei. That'd be silly.
Well, Toei already existed as established.
Had to reconfirm my single brain cell.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I think is older? 4Kids Animation.
No. How dare you? No, it was a Japanese studio. It was 4Kids was the American. American, right? Yeah, not an American studio. These Japanese people did not move to America and form an American animation studio. I'll give you one more guess for the nonsense you just tried to spout. The fuck was that?
I'm trying to think of like a really old animation studio, and screw it. Studio Bones.
Oh no! Are you familiar with a one man by the name of Hayao Miyazaki?
No shot.
It sounds like you are. Which means,
no way.
For the uninitiated, Hayao Miyazaki, very famous for his work with won Studio Ghibli, baby.
There's no way. That's insane.
These people, not all of them. I don't believe all of them, but it was dissolved and the studio split, and they many of them would go on to work with Hayao Miyazaki in the formation of Studio Ghibli.
That's brazy.
Yeah, the last unicorn is in the Studio Ghibli verse.
Now that's a real conspiracy theory.
The last unicorn is a precursor Ghibli movie, and not by much either. Again, this movie, 1982. Studio Ghibli formed in 1985, and their first movie would come out in 1986.
That's what a turnover. What?
Actually, excuse me. No. 1984.
Okay, 2-year movie production cycle. I could better believe. I could not believe that you founded yourself, and then within a year made a movie.
Well, I mean, this is a year before. Miyazaki, I think the studio had been formed in 1984. Ghibli.
Wait, yes,
I think Ghibli. I think Ghibli established. I gotta go recheck. The Topcraft was dissolved in 85.
Yes.
Ghibli. Okay, also 85. But Miyazaki had already been working on a film, or had written a film, which is 1984's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. But then 1986, a year later, when they've got the Topcraft crew, they make Castle in the Sky. And then in 1988, they drop My Neighbor Totoro. You
want to know it's not really a fun fact. You want to know a fact about me?
Go on.
So Studio Ghibli has maybe not massive, but a large catalog of movies, right?
Yeah.
I have seen very little Studio Ghibli movies.
Same here, brother.
However, back in the day, like back when the first dawn of Netflix, when you would have to mail in the DVDs or whatever, I would surmise that for the number of Studio Ghibli movies that existed at that time was the number of times I had seen Spirited Away, because that movie just kept getting mailed into our mailbox. I don't know if I don't know how Netflix worked back then in terms of like how you order your movies. I don't know if my mom just really liked that movie. I don't know if that movie was just kind of like constantly left in queue or something. But I saw Spirited Away too many times as a kid.
Yeah, it was just in the normal rotation. They just assumed that everyone would always want to be watching it constantly. So
I think I've seen that movie too many times to the point where like I don't know if I could enjoy it anymore. I want to see other Ghibli movies, bro. Literally, I think within like the past 2 to 3 years, I saw Princess Mononoke, and I was like, "Wow, finally a Ghibli movie or a Hayao Miyazaki movie that isn't Spirited Away."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
want to be one with the Ghibli kids. I want to explore the whimsy.
That is almost the extent of mine as well. Is Mononoke and Spirited Away. I have seen parts of, not the entire thing, but I've seen parts of Kiki's Delivery Service.
I want to say Sam.
Otherwise, I am Studio Ghibli illiterate.
So, honestly, I think the most I've seen outside of those movies is the trailers for movies like Ponyo or whatever that's been coming out recently.
Yeah, or The Boy and the Heron that dropped last year.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was fun facts with your boy and Harvey. So. On to the rest of this. How much do you think it cost them pre-Ghibli times to make this movie?
Going, okay, animation's expensive, like regardless, right?
Sure.
I'm going $20 million. Damn.
We got a smooth budget of $3.5 million.
Okay.
Kept it nice and low. Look, man, they never animated her mouth moving as like a horse. They barely animate this movie. Oh, excuse me, unicorn. Fair. They took a lot of shortcuts in this movie in terms of what they actually chose to animate and not animate. Because boy, there are so many times it just looks like they're moving PNGs across a background. So
now that you say that, there's this, I think it's the very finale when everyone just kind of like goes off and breaks up. The prince running off on his horse.
Yeah,
kind of had that similar effect where he just kind of gets smaller in the background. It was kind of funny.
Yep. There's like one or two moments where it looks pretty smooth, and then it just transforms into like fucking PowerPoint presentation mode. So with that in mind, how much money do you think this made? Do you think people liked The Last Unicorn? Did enough little girls drag their parents to the movie theaters back in 1982?
No. I thought it was going to be a commercial failure. I just, given my assumption of a $20 million budget, I suddenly need to reassess the math. Do they even make $1 million off of this? I'm going to give them the generous $900,000.
It was not very successful, but it was not that unsuccessful. This movie made $6.5 million.
Damn.
Barely shot under double.
Okay, I understand. My brain was like, commercial failure is you don't make back your budget when there's more that you need to make back.
Yeah. Still a failure for the most part. Box office wise. Just not nearly that bad.
They just didn't go neg necessarily.
Yes, correct. So, as tends to be the case, I have Letterboxd reviews, and as also tends to be the case, I was not let down. There have been better Letterboxd movies, but the people still showed up and showed out this time, gave me good reviews. So, I picked my 6 favorites, and one of these actually has no star rating. I just really wanted to read it. So I'm going to read this one now, get that out of the way, not leave you in suspense or make you guess a star rating when there is none. This person quotes the part of the movie when our unicorn turns into a person. She says, "I can feel this body dying all around me," end quote. And the review just says, "Girl, same." So that one struck my fancy. Now, moving on to something with an actual star rating for you to guess on. Pretty cute and enjoyable, but didn't need to see the big titty tree. You knew someone had to do it.
Giving it 3.5.
Whoa,
I think that person's generous.
Almost.
Damn.
3 stars.
Fuck.
3 stars.
The 0.5 was too generous.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. And that was the second most liked review on the letterboxd.com. Unfortunately, the first most liked one was an actual review and way too long. So doesn't happen very often that a legitimate review, someone who actually cares about this movie, ends up with the most likes. But
wow,
this person made it happen. So good for them. Next quote, next review says, "No wonder they all nearly died out. They have freaking spaghetti legs." And I agree. There's really no excuse for skipping leg day. They look like they would break in a light wind.
I'll give it a 3.
Close once more. 2.5 stars.
You know, I was thinking to myself, I was like, can I see someone like giving this movie less than a 3? I feel like people aren't mean enough.
Oh, they
generally.
Yeah. No, there are 2.5s here. There are a lot of 3s actually. 3s, 3.5, 2.5. Yeah, they're there. Trust me. There's a lot of 5s though too.
Shot.
There are a lot of people who love this movie.
There's no way.
Oh
man.
Yeah, dude. There are so many people who love this movie. In fact, I have a 5-star review. Spoiler alert. You're just gonna have to figure out which one it is of the last 3. But man, there are so many people who actually gave this movie a 5-star review that I'm also incredulous. And a lot of them, I'm sure, is nostalgia glasses, and they probably still like it even now. I bet Rin is among them, but because they watched it when they were little, they're just like, yeah, this is great. I love this. Some people have insightful commentary on like nuance and, like I sort of hinted at the beginning, of different interpretations of themes in the movie between innocence or, people who wanted to dive even deeper into like current day issues about like queerness and so on. But yeah, then there's somebody who just goes, is this the greatest movie ever made? Yeah, mostly due to the well-endowed enchanted tree that shares some mommy daddy time with our brave wizard Schmendrick. I just pulled that one out of my ass. So anyway, on to the other reviews that I still have. This isn't someone, people love quoting this movie also, by the way. So they quote, "A clock isn't time, it's just numbers and springs. Pay it no mind," end quote. Visually sublime, and while it embodies some of the more classic tropes in fantasy, it was also ferociously ahead of its time thematically. Mommy Fortuna and the Harpy are still terrifying. Ferociously ahead of its time, Justin.
What a description that honestly I'm not even sure I fully understand. Ferociously ahead of its time. Are we talking like animation? Storytelling?
Thematically. Yeah, they went. It was ferociously ahead of its time thematically.
Oh, right, because it's talking about the apocalypse and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, let's go with that.
Huh. That has to be. No, you wouldn't. Would you? 5-star review. Fuck it.
Oh, wait. Uh-oh.
Is there no star rating?
Please hold.
Nani?
I appear to have not actually written down the star rating for that one. I'll find it. Do 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 do. So
this movie's got me thinking. What if we've encountered unicorns, but because we're men, we can't see them?
I mean, that's what the movie would have you believe.
The movie's already right about the apocalyptic timeline, so I think it's right about this too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, might as well, right? I've seen white horses before, so
not same.
Gotta spend more time on farms. What did you think this was?
A 5-star review.
Oh, okay, yeah, close but no cigar. This was 4 stars.
All right.
Yeah, just for the sake of it, I almost just made up a star review just to
yeah, I was getting really worried. He was like, he's gonna find a way to screw me. He's just gonna make something up.
So I really thought about just making up a star review, but I have never lied once on this podcast about a Letterboxd review, and I'm not about to start now.
I certainly have no faith in that now. I don't know.
No.
The temptation alone is enough to question your credibility in my mind.
Well, if anyone has any doubts, they'll just have to go back and listen to all of our episodes again and
just cross-reference.
And give us more sweet views. I mean, listens. I mean, pay us money. The next review. I love Schmendrick because he's like the fairy tale equivalent of a 30 to 40 something year old guy who got stuck in a shitty customer service job because he sucked so bad at his dream job and also was immortal.
Oh no, I don't like this review. Am I Schmendrick, bro?
You're not 30 to 40 yet.
I'm close enough.
Also, have you sucked so bad at your dream job yet that you ended up in this customer service job?
Well, I mean,
do you have a dream job?
I never had a dream job, but I went to college, which is like 1 degree off, kind of, and I messed that up. So I feel like I'm not that far away from the description of Schmendrick here. I'm giving this review a 2.5 because it made me sad.
Oh, Justin, that's just sad for you because that was a 5-star review.
I am enraged. I have beef with that commenter. Awful.
That's great. All right, last one. See if you can get 1 point on the board this time. I feel as if I just consumed a hefty dosage of DMT and experienced this entire film inside the depths of my mind without even having to press the word play.
Oh, no. That sounds awful. 4 stars?
God. So close. 3.5.
Okay.
3 and a half
somebody's a 5-star review. I'm like, bro, that's not a 5-star experience.
Well, for them it might have been. I don't know what their feelings on DMT are. Clearly they have a favorable opinion of it.
I feel like that movie is how you represent the inner machinations of your mind. That's not a 5-star experience.
I mean, it's never clear if they actually enjoyed it or not, to be fair, but with a review rating like that, I mean, it's like, okay, just above average for the most part,
I guess.
But yeah, that's it. We did it. We made it to the other side of this one. How
Dimma did it.
How'd that feel? Do you enjoy the conspiracy theories? I might have to bring those back for more movie reviews, I think. Not just to like fill time, but because that was kind of actually worth it.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it's still in beta. Still got to test it out.
Yeah. It was helpful here to fill the time, fill the void, but might not need that in other instances. But I may keep that in the back pocket. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, unnamed friend, for the help there. You're a real one. Mwah, I kissed the homie. Anyway,
you know what's funny? The entire night I've just been like, who's the homie? Do I know the homie?
Oh, I bet you wish you knew who the homie was.
I have top 2 contenders. One of them is just our mutual friend who I think is like unhinged enough to just think about that. And the other one is just your sister. And I'm not trying to say she's unhinged because I don't know her.
I'll say it. That's fine. I'll say it. She's unhinged.
But I don't know. I feel like when your potential source is right next door, the ease of convenience just, I guess, brings you up the ladder as a candidate selection. You know,
it does tend to present itself as an easy option. Yes. And she would also definitely think about conspiracy theories, but is she the one? I don't know. Who should say?
The world may never know.
Take us out, Justin.
Thank you for listening to the show tonight. If you wish to reach out to us on social media and tell us whether or not you like The Last Unicorn, whether the film from 1982 or the novel, if you read that somehow, reach out to us. You could also email us at pandasightings@gmail.com. If you wish to become a patron like Rin, you can do so at patreon.com/pandasightings. If you wish to just buy stuff for mostly our other podcasts, One Piece of the Lime, we have a Redbubble shop where you can just buy cool stickers and other merch with our designs on it. Join the Discord. We have a lovely community there. Surprisingly, no one's coming to our Discord to talk about these Panda View movies, and a part of that makes me a little sad. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, someone recently in the Confessions channel they said that they really enjoyed Panda View more than Opwall.
You know what? That is true. Whoever you are, anonymous listener, review yourself to me. Maybe not to the public. I understand why you might have some hesitancy, but I appreciate you. I want to know who you are. I want to thank you properly.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Yeah, especially Christian. You put so much work into this one.
Yeah, I didn't think about it at the time, but yeah, I think I am. I think I'm curious.
So yeah, do all that cool stuff.
Now, if you'll excuse us, we've got to console Harvey on the loss of his brother, who we should have given a name at some point also. But, sometimes you just don't know what you have till it's gone.
Yeah, like unicorns.
Just like my unicorns. And also all of my highly advanced technology.
Bye.
It's just fucking magic, dude. There's no technology here.